This is the Just Live podcast with Dan and Suzie Potter, episode 81.
Do you mind?
We're going to explore the condition of my and your minds.
We begin in 22 seconds.
Live life, see the good days in it, just live. Live life, see the good days, follow your potential. And live life, see the good days in it, thrive.
Your life is a remarkable story and adventure that only you can create.
We exist to motivate and equip you to live fully alive.
Welcome to episode number 81. This is the 5-star review for couples. This is an opportunity for you as a couple to explore how your week has gone in the area of your mind.
My name is Dan.
My name is Suzie. Together we are Doozy.
And this is part 3. We've looked at the spirit, we've looked at the heart, and now we're looking at the mind. The mind is a terrible thing to waste.
When we think about the mind, it's become so important to us because we have neuro pathways. We have these pathways like huge highways that run in our mind. And they come because of repeated ways of training our mind or letting our mind run on these highways, these small roads that have become really big roads. And when we're in the process of making changes and we're changing habits, we're changing direction, focuses, rhythms, our mind plays a huge part in it. And so we have learned in the process of our mind for this season for us, we've identified 5 values that are really important for us every week, and we want to check in with these to make sure that we're actually living them.
So my question again is, do you mind?
Do you mind?
Here's the thing. Are you checking up on what's going on in your mind? Around us, there's all kinds of distractions. There's a bee that's been flying around. There's an airplane overhead. Our mind is all over the place, and we need to check in to see, are we on path with the values that we've set for our minds?
Right, so in this 5-star review, essentially what you need to do, if you haven't listened to the 2 previous episodes, please go back and listen to them in any order you want. It's not a problem, but we've already talked about our spiritual and choosing 5 values that we can check in on those every week. Last week, we talked about our heart. 5 values for that. Today is the focus on the mind. And we have chosen 5 values that are important for us that we want to check in on. We're going to unpack those for you. You do not have to use our values. You can choose your own. And what you want to do is check in if you're living those values. And we're doing it as a couple. And so both Dan and I have to do it, and we have to choose to do that together in our third space. And if so, we get a star for that value. The stars represent our values.
Just like kindergarten. You get a star. Here's our first star.
It's not necessarily on the forehead, but it's happening.
The first star is about setting it.
All right, so this comes to us from Colossians chapter 3, verses 1 and 2, this concept. And it says, set your heart and your mind on things above where Christ is seated at the right hand of God. And so we choose each week to set our hearts, we choose to set our minds on the way that we want to go and who's going to help us do that. And so we set our minds, and so the check-in is, did we set our minds, and how did it go with that setting? Did we just let it
go any way it wanted to go, or did we set it?
Right, and one of the ways that we do this is we have what we call a powwow every morning, and we check in with the schedule, the things that are important for the day to make sure we know what's happening, and we do a set each and every day. And so this weekly check-in will be if we lived according to what we set out to do in our minds.
The second one is wonder. I wonder when those planes come, where they just came from and where are they going next. Life is about wonder and imagination. Within our world, when it comes to the whole area of the mind, we have to wonder, we have to imagine, we have to be able to have the process of learning. When we stop learning, we stop moving. And so we set aside time mostly every day, but every week where we'll actually just stop and wonder and imagine and learn from it. We do research. We walk in things that maybe we've never walked in before just to see, is this an area that we can grow in? So one of the stars has to do with setting that mind, but also taking time to wonder, imagine, learn, to grow.
So the third value in this mind section for us that we try to get a star in is align. So we've said it, we wondered, we have all the imaginations of the possibilities of what's going on. Now what's it going to take to align, to get to that trajectory? If we're trying to make really good contacts with our couples, if we're trying to reach out and look for opportunities for new couples to have discovery calls with us, what is that going to look like? What is it going to take? Do we need a little bit more rest? Do we need a little bit more productivity? Do we need more work? What does that alignment process look like? And we try to just renew it. Sometimes we have to reset in the middle of the week to make sure that we're still aligned with what we set out to do in our mind so that we can actually have actions to follow.
The fourth one is something that became very important for us during COVID and afterwards. It's the whole idea of being resilient.
Yep.
To bounce back. If you've ever had a rubber band that lost its
resiliency, it's
just
stretchiness.
But I have a sweater right now, and it's like I used to have the elastic, and now it doesn't fit right.
It's not resilient.
And life doesn't fit right unless there is some resilience. And so we need to take time each week to look at this value. Did we bounce back? Are we bouncing back? Is there some way that I need to help you bounce back, or you help me bounce back? To be resilient is to keep that rubber band, keep that tension in our relationship, because that is so important for us not to get diverted because of a pandemic or whatever else may come.
Yeah, that's right.
We need to be able to bounce back. That is a star we want to have every single week.
And resilient for me as well has to do with mindset and my focus and my perspective. Things happen in our world. The circumstances may or may not change around us, but how does my mind process that situation of what's going on? That for us is resiliency, and that's a very important value for us right now in the season of our marriage. And so we're checking in with each other, and if we're both being resilient, we get that star for that value.
And the fifth one is peace. We have a very high value of peace. Not that we don't have any kind of conflict, we do, but how do we then in our mind come back to the place of peace and rest? We so desire that in our relationship and in our world. And so when we are taking that evaluation each week, we want to say, did we live in peace this week? If yes, again, we celebrate. If no, what can we do? What is even one step we can take to move closer to peace?
I was just reading in John chapter 14, verse 27 today. It was Jesus talking about sending the Holy Spirit and peace. He's leaving with us when we set our hearts and our minds on Jesus. He is the King of peace, and He brings that peace back into our space. And so we can't have that peace without having the Jesus-infused mind and mindset as well. So that's one of our levels. Did we have peace? And has it been infused by the Holy Spirit? And have we reached out to Him? Have our circumstances allowed our minds to be at peace? Like our bodies need to be at peace as well, but we really check in with peaceful minds. And those are our 5 values.
So here's the question. Do you mind? I mean, do you take care of your mind individually and as a couple? Do you take time to say, where has our mind been? What have we allowed into our mind? What have we spoken out that was from our mind? These things are so important. If you want to have a 5-star review every week, one of the things needs to be this checkup on where was the mind. Do you mind?
So do that, as Dan just said. If you want to have a 5-star checkup in the area of the mind, once again, choose your 5 values. You're welcome to borrow any of ours. Get inspired by it as time goes by. You might want to tweak those and change those, and then check in every week. Add this check-in. So far we have talked about our spirit. We have talked about our heart. This week, this episode is about our mind. In the following 2 episodes, we're going to talk about our body, 5-star review in our body, and a 5-star review with our people. So stay tuned, more 5-star review elements coming up.
And may you live fully alive as you love your life, your world, and your God. My name's Dan.
And I'm Suzie. Together we are Doozy.
Live fully
and love fully. Thanks for joining us.
fully alive.